What's shaking, everybody? It is the Swedish Madman, Captain Planet, General Glory, coming at you again. I only saw fit to talk about Star Wars Battlefront, this upcoming game that we are all excited for. Two footage of Battlefield 4 because it gives me a chance to talk up Battlefield 4 as well. So let's get right to it. Star Wars Battlefront is set to release at the end of this summer, around October or November, I believe, right alongside with the new movie that's coming out, The Force Awakens, which I'm also very excited for. A couple different things I want to cover in this video is how the multiplayer and single player in Star Wars Battlefront is going to be, and why I think it might not deliver on as much as we think. Star Wars Battlefront multiplayer 20v20, and my first thought was, wow, this is from the same people who make Battlefield 4, which has been 32v32 for as long as I can remember. And, you know, this is 2015. I don't think we can just let DICE get away with making a game that's 20v20. Whatever the justification may be, I hope somewhere down the line there will be a 32v32 playlist, or even at least, you know, 25v25, something along those lines, so we can have a bigger team. The reasoning behind this, you know, I discussed with one of my coworkers. He's a professional streamer, so just as passionate about games as I am. The reasoning may be to avoid the terrible launch of Battlefield 4 by cutting down on how many players you can have on a map at a given time. Now what this does is a couple different things. It further increases the discrepancy of infantry and vehicle warfare. If any of you are Battlefield players like myself, and for most of you who have been playing Battlefield longer than I have, considering I picked it up around Battlefield 3, you know, Battlefield, you know, has always been a game that's tried to mesh together vehicular and infantry warfare, and so far, I feel like Battlefield 4 has done the greatest job at this. Some of you may not think so, but I mean, it really does have its, you know, it has its ups and downs. I mean, it depends on what playlist you're playing in, and what kind of game you're playing in, how many people you have on the map. It really just depends. But let's assume we're talking about conquest here, vehicular warfare, infantry warfare, 32v32. You know, that kind of thing. You know, just pay attention the next time you play a conquest on Battlefield 4. The infantry and the vehicular warfare really does mesh together pretty well. No space battles in Star Wars Battlefront. The only reason I can think is it's hard to make space battles seem as realistic as land battles, and this is a true statement right here. With the end goal of immersion in mind, of course, that's the end goal of every single game. It's harder to make space battles seem realistic as land battles, you know. A developer rendering grass and trees is going to be a lot easier than rendering a battle with lightsabers and flash beams and ion torpedoes on a satellite orbiting Jupiter. You know, I can kind of understand that there. Another reason there's not going to be any space battles is obviously because they're going to skin the game and sell space battles to us as DLC, but I'll leave that for another commentary before I even get worked up about it. No campaign. I understand them trying to pay homage to the original Battlefronts, but a game based off of the movies that holds one of the greatest stories in cinematic history will not have a story mode again in 2015, people. Hopefully they have another mode that is similar to at least like Spartan Ops in Halo 4, where you could play through certain missions to certain chapters, and it was like episodes, and it was very cinematic in and of itself. Hopefully we have a mode like that. You know, like I said, I understand them trying to pay homage to the other games, but this is 2015. Like I said, one of the greatest cinematic stories in history, and they're not going to include a story mode. This just gives them further means to sell us a story in place of no campaign as DLC. So you know, I'm not very excited about that. The vehicular gameplay. You know, the vehicles are going to be relatively large, and this is another valid point that my coworker brought up, is because the vehicles are so large, they're cutting down on the amount of players that they have on a given map at any single time. So the vehicles being so large, I don't know how I feel about this one. You know, I hope there's not an entire emphasis on, you know, vehicular gameplay, that just infantry warfare doesn't even exist anymore. I do love my fair share of both, you know, both worlds. If any of you have played Battlefield 4, and you know, a big problem in Battlefield is that all the vehicles tend to get shot down by fucking stingers, the fire and forget missiles. This is why I hate driving, you know, the Z10W or Z11, or even the Little Bird for that matter, on maps like without any buildings, basically, like Lansing Dam or Zavad 311. I can't stand fucking piloting choppers. Not only is it already hard to pilot choppers on a console anyways, because most console pilots suck to be, and when you do get good, you gotta worry about the fucking lock-on noise, somebody firing a fire and forget missile at you in open skies, and there's nothing to divert that lock-on, like in Siege of Shanghai, for example, if you have a building to quickly maneuver around. So my point being there is that they put those kind of stingers and fire and forget weapons to cut down on the amount of vehicles at any given time shitting on the infantry warfare. So they wanted to place, and this is again Battlefield trying to further mesh infantry and vehicular warfare so that vehicles weren't so overpowered. Now what I see in Star Wars Battlefront, because the vehicular gameplay and the vehicles are said to be so large, is basically a non-emphasis on infantry warfare. And I understand, the maps being so large, it's basically like a sci-fi entry of Battlefield. But by cutting down on the amount of players and making the vehicles bigger, I feel like it'll just further, create that discrepancy between infantry and vehicular warfare. But this is something I could always go into after the game comes out as well. No battle log, I'm not going to cover that. There's 2 editions of Star Wars Battlefront coming out, the standard and the deluxe, of course. The deluxe just includes Han Solo's blaster, the ion detonator, and ion torpedo, which you can achieve anyways. The deluxe is just instant access. It's in my belief that there will be a 3rd version that includes all of the DLC for $120 or $150, which is primarily what publishers are writing on nowadays, so that they can sell you all the DLC. My opinion of this game overall is that it's a bit lackluster, just from what we've seen. It seems to me that Battlefront 3, or not Battlefront 3, just Battlefront, is kind of modeling itself directly after Destiny and is going to sell us DLC in place of the missing story. EA is more or less testing the waters and seeing what they can get away with in Battlefront, but instead of claiming that they have an awesome story like Destiny, and it turns up that it's missing, they're just not going to include the story at all and sell it to us as DLC, thinking we won't be as mad because the story was never claimed to have been in the game in the first place. I saw it happen in Destiny, and I was hoping it wouldn't carry over to other games, but being that the game is not out yet, I'll hold further opinion until I am able to put some considerable time into the game and have more critical view. With that said, considering I shit all over every game I pretty much play on this channel, the positives of this game, and I see many, include graphics. I'm very excited to see the graphics in this game. Now, the initial reveal that we see when the rebels are trying to destroy the walker, that was claimed by the developers to be actual in-game footage, and the fact that it was not CGI was clearly emphasized, which means 2 things. 1, this game's graphics are going to be disgusting, and I'm going to bust it out on my TV screen when I play it. Or 2, I have the means and reason to tear dice a new one if the graphics are considerably different than what we saw. Of course, they won't be exactly as such, but the point still remains. Now, like I said, they clearly emphasize that it was not CGI footage, which means that is supposed to emulate what we're going to see in the game. But like I said, it's not going to be exactly the same. That was in-engine footage. So how we perceive it on the Xbox One or on the PlayStation 4 is going to differ, hopefully not significantly. With that said, I hope you all enjoyed the footage. I will have a glorious new commentary out soon with some extensive coverage on some Destiny topics. But in the meantime, don't forget to drop a like on this video, and I will see you all next time. Captain Planet out.